Now that it is clear which data each API endpoint needs and how this data is sent in which format, the question is which HTTP method is used. Because as we build a RESTful service, all requests will be sent via HTTP. And no matter if the request is sent from our Angular 2 application or our iOS app, it will send such a HTTP request in the end. To actually choose a correct HTTP request, it's first important to know which HTTP methods exist. Here is a list of the most important methods we will need for creation of a RESTful service. There are others, but those are not important here, and you will very, very rarely need them, if at all, in the field of creation of a RESTful service. So here I got a GET request. This is a great resource if the goal is to retrieve data from the server. So not to create data or change it or delete it, only to get a resource. The POST request, on the other hand, is great if the goal is to add a resource. So if we want to, let's say, create an entry in the database, it probably makes sense to send the respective data with a POST HTTP method. If the goal is not to create something new, but instead change something, there are two options from which to choose. The first possible HTTP method is the put method, which replaces a complete resource. And this is important. The whole resource is replaced. So no new resource is created, but all the fields are overwritten. The complete resource is overwritten. If this is the goal, a put request is a great choice. If the goal is to only update parts of a resource, like let's say only one field in a database entry, like the name of a user, but not the other fields, then a patch request is a good choice, because this request is, well, defined for this use case. If parts of a resource should be replaced, but not the complete resource. Finally, the delete request is of course a great choice if the goal is to delete a resource on the server. On this slide, I got a summary of what I just explained. And I think a good comparison is always to compare the HTTP methods here with the database method, which should be triggered upon a call of an API endpoint with this HTTP method. So here, for example, as I just explained, if the goal is to get some data from the database, a GET request is a great choice. Inserting data is well done with a POST request, whereas updating depends upon, well, the choice if the goal is to overwrite a resource or only parts of a resource. Depending on this choice, either a put or a patch request is a good thing. And finally, for the deletion of data in the database, a delete HTTP request is a good choice. With all that being said, please keep in mind, the HTTP method chosen does not limit your possible actions on the server or with your database. You may very well delete a resource in the database after receiving a GET request. However, the mapping laid out in this video shows a semantically correct way to use HTTP methods for requests triggering certain actions.